Anthony Pereira is a professor at the Brazil Institute and Department of International Development at King's College London, and he joins us now live from London. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us on the News Hour. First off, just walk us through, if you can, what Bolsonaro is expected to face in the near future in court, and how does the judicial system in Brazil work in a case like Bolsonaro's?
So this is sort of a judicial sword over Bolsonaro's head, as you implied in the package there. It creates a documentary record of, crimes of omission and commission created potentially by this government, and it could be taken up by the prosecutor general. That's the person who's most directly affected by a report of this kind. He's an appointee of President Bolsonaro, so I wouldn't expect anything to happen soon. He has to address the substance of what's in the report, but this could also trigger other kinds of legal actions. It could induce somebody to file a civil complaint in a civil court for damages for the things that were revealed in this report. There could be somebody who would take this up at the ICC. So this is going to be something that's lingering there in the background for quite some time. And I think the immediate significance of it is really more historical and political than it is judicial. It's documentary evidence about a government that not just at the beginning of the pandemic thought that herd immunity would be a good idea. Let the coronavirus go through the population. A lot of governments thought that. The Johnson government thought that at the beginning. But this is a government that spread false information. It fought against vaccines for a long time. It fought against mask wearing and quarantines. It invested money in chloroquine. And so it really has been a negationist government on many levels right through the pandemic.
Right, and Bolsonaro's supporters have stuck by his side pretty much throughout this whole period since COVID-19 hit the world. Most of when the world was in lockdown, he would hold meetings where all his supporters would come out and support him very vocally. Do you think his supporters will stick by his side throughout this period?
The surveys suggest that there is a hardcore of Bolsonaro supporters, somewhere in the region of 25%, perhaps as high as 30%, that seem to stick with him no matter what kind of evidence is produced by like this commission. But his popularity has sunk. I saw a recent survey that said something like 58, 59% of the population did not want to vote for him in the elections in next October in 2022. So he's got some vulnerabilities. And he's looking at a very difficult year as the political season heats up in March of 2022. And I think we're going to see within that 25 or 30% of the population, how many of those people are really ideologically committed, who will go with him all the way, and how many could be peeled off by other candidates who will use this report to say, we can't afford to reelect a government that's done this badly on the pandemic.
Right, and that brings me to my next question. Bolsonaro is calling these actions politically motivated, obviously, given that elections are coming up. What kind of a stance do you think he'll take during this process of him being indicted?
I think he'll do what he's already doing. He will dismiss the report as politically motivated. His son said something of a similar nature, saying that had no real juridical standing. I think a lot of other people even people who may have voted for Bolsonaro in 2018, may look at some of this evidence and think, we might not have had the second highest death toll in the pandemic, 600,000 deaths, if our government had coordinated actions between mayors and governors and done the kind of consensus view things that were being recommended at the time, such as lockdowns, supported those rather than provoke doubt about them, being quicker on vaccines. They're going to look at this evidence in this report and think maybe things could have been different. A lot of these deaths could have been avoided. And Brazil is very justly proud of its public health infrastructure. It has good public health research, good public health policymakers, but they were really stifled by President Bolsonaro. He
Right.
dismissed one and led to the resignation of another of his health ministers in 2020 because they disagreed with the emphasis on chloroquine.
Definitely. Professor, thank you so much for joining us here on the News Hour. It was a pleasure having you.